Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon to vote for Electra or Kingpin, and like and subscribe for colder beverages next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Bobby Drake, the Iceman, an extraordinarily sad boy with a heart ready for love. How is that a superpower? Oh, I read it wrong. He's a cryomancer, not a cryomancer. That makes way more sense. I really didn't get why Xavier would want someone on the squad who just listens to The Cure obsessively. That's why I never got to join. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First things first, ice is nice, so we'll grab twice the ice to cool the spice. Next, we need to cool off our enemies, maybe even so much that they can't move. Finally, we'll need some speed skating, moving around like a curling stone. That's a curling reference. I just googled the name of it. I know nothing about curling. It's so unpopular of a sport, they play it while the janitors clean the ice for the next hockey game. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure you're a cool dude. Charisma will be number 1. Mutants get their powers inherently, and everyone loves Iceman. Constitution next, the cold never really bothered you anyway, did it? Dexterity after that, you don't really wear armor, you just wrap yourself in water and slide around. Follow that up with intelligence, you're a decent student, one of the originals at Xavier's school, I'd say that makes you a gifted youngster. Wisdom is a bit low, we don't really need it, and we'll dump strength. The squad has a metal man for that, and a Canadian. It's set. There aren't mutants in 5e, but there is custom lineage, which is basically just a human with +2 to 1 stat instead of +1 to 2 stats. Mutants are pretty close to humans, I'm fine using custom lineage for that. For your feat, Elemental Adept lets you ignore resistances to cold damage, and you can treat all the ones you roll on damage die as 2s. Technically, you can pick one from a big list, but believe it or not, Iceman is going to be using cold. Bump your charisma with your 2 free points, take acrobatics to slip out of grapples, and the cloistered scholar background for history and arcana proficiency. The expansion isn't the easiest school to get into. If your mutant powered makes toast, you're probably going to gym school for talented teens. We'll kick things off as a sorcerer, letting you grab 2 skills from the sorcerer list, like insight and persuasion, to get along better with your classmates. We'll be a draconic soul sorcerer since they get draconic resilience, giving you an extra 1 HP for every sorcerer level you get, and your AC is 13 plus your dexterity modifier, presumably because of scales, but for you it's a thin sheet of ice. You also have advantage on charisma checks with dragons, so Lockheed will like you better. He's pretty friendly though, that's not a huge challenge. For your cantrips, Ray of Frost is a ranged spell attack that deals 1d8 cold damage and slows a target by 10 feet per round. Running is truly miserable in the winter. Frostbite forces a constitution saving throw on a creature, dealing 1d6 cold damage if they fail, and giving them disadvantage on their next weapon attack. Hitting people with a flail is miserable in the winter. Blade Ward lets you give yourself resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a round for a thicker sheet of ice when you need it. Mending fixes a crack in something or puts 2 pieces of something back together for a little bit of ice welding. I guess that's kind of the opposite of welding. For your first level spells, Ice Knife is a ranged spell attack that deals 1d10 piercing damage and forces a dexterity saving throw on creatures within 5 feet of the target, dealing 2d6 cold damage to those that fail for a little icicle explosion. Expeditious Retreat lets you dash as a bonus action for up to 10 minutes so you can skate around. Unfortunately, this does not leave a path of ice behind you to trip your enemies. That would be a pretty specific spell to put into D&D. Second level sorcerers get a Font of Magic, letting you use your sorcery points to recover spell slots for more ice every single day. For this level spell, Shield adds 5 to your AC as a reaction, creating an icy barrier between you and your foes. Take a shot of water every time I say ice in this video, or better yet, eat an ice cube. Third level sorcerers get Meta Magic, special ways to augment your spells with sorcery points. Careful Spell lets you choose a number of allies equal to your charisma modifier to succeed your saving throws automatically so you don't turn Kitty Pride into Kitty Freeze Dried. Heightened Spell is pretty much the opposite, giving a creature disadvantage on saving throws against your spells. It's really good with Hold Person. Now that's a spell that forces a wisdom saving throw on a creature. Failing that, they're paralyzed for a minute depending on your concentration, letting the rest of the X-Men take turns getting critical hits for free on your icically frozen target. Fourth level sorcerers get an ability score improvement. Round up your dexterity and your charisma scores for better casting and better AC. Getting hit isn't as good as not getting hit. For this level spell, Snillock Snowball Swarm forces a dexterity saving throw on creatures in a 5-foot radius sphere, dealing 3d6 cold damage to those that fail. Try to group up the Brotherhood so that you can make them all chilly really fast. 5th level sorcerers get 3rd level spells. Protection from energy gives a creature resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage for up to an hour depending on your concentration. Use it for hot. Pyro is sort of your nemesis, and in my headcanon, also your boyfriend, but that's a different story. Unless the MCU wants to make it canon, then they could. 6th level draconic sorcerers get an elemental affinity, letting you add your charisma modifier to 1 damage roll of your cold-based spells. That's like Minnesota winter levels of frigid. You can also spend a sorcery point to get resistance to cold damage for an hour after you cast an icy spell. It would be pretty embarrassing if Iceman went down to ice damage damage. For this level spell, Sleet Storm creates a 20-foot tall, 40-foot radius cylinder of freezing rain. It's heavily obscured, creatures inside it have to make a dexterity saving throw when they enter or they're knocked prone, and the whole area is difficult terrain. If someone inside is casting a spell, they make a concentration save against your spell DC to keep it up. That stays up for a minute depending on your concentration, so it could stop Magneto from pulling all the metal out of Wolverine's body. He doesn't like it when that happens. 7th level sorcerers can learn 4th level spells. Fire Shield can make a hot shield for cold damage or a cold shield for hot damage. Wait, no, the other way around. If you make an ice shield, you have immunity to cold damage, resistance to fire damage, and creatures who attack you take 2d8 cold damage. The exact opposite happens if you make a hot shield, but that's not in character. That's for your boyfriend/nemesis. 8th level sorcerers get another ability score improvement. Cap off your charisma modifier for absolute 0. For this level spell, Ice Storm creates a 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder of spinning hailstones, forcing a dexterity saving throw on creatures inside, dealing 2d8 bludgeoning damage and 4d6 cold damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed. It also makes the area difficult terrain, so not only does it pummel, it also makes people drive through a bunch of slush. I'm glad it's summer right now. I hate slush. 9th level sorcerers can learn 5th level spells. Cone of Cold forces a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 60-foot cone, dealing 8d8 cold damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed. This is a straight up blizzard, you have to turn it upside down to prove that it works. 10th level sorcerers get another meta magic option. Quicken Spell lets you cast a spell as a bonus action that normally takes an action to cast. So you can cast Ray of Frost and Cone of Cold in the same round for extra frosty damage. For this level spell, Hold Monster is like Hold Person but with no humanoid restriction, helping you lock down Sentinel's Brood or whatever the hell Toad is. Probably a humanoid but just like a really icky one. 11th level sorcerers can learn 6th level spells. Investiture of Ice is the Iceman spell. It makes you immune to cold damage, resistant to fire damage. You can move across difficult terrain caused by snow or ice without issue. You create 10 feet of difficult terrain all around you, and you can use your action to force a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cone, dealing 4d6 cold damage if they fail, half as much if they succeed. That's a capped off cantrip's level of damage that still does damage on a fail, along with a bunch of other bonuses. It's pretty nice. 12th level sorcerers get another ability score improvement. Bump up your dexterity for a few more inches of permafrost all around you. 13th level sorcerers get 7th level spells, but we don't. We still need Otiluk's freezing sphere from the 6th level. This creates a 60-foot radius sphere of ice, rolling forward and forcing a constitution saving throw on creatures it touches, dealing 10d6 cold damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed. It also freezes any water it touches, and if there's a creature inside, they have to make an athletics check against your spell DC to break out. This is a giant AoE. It can lock people down. It's everything you do packed into one spell. 14th level draconic sorcerers get draconic wings, giving you a flying speed equal to your normal speed. There isn't a way to get a bunch of ice slides, but effectively it's the same as flying. Any cool DM would let you reflavor it that way. Now, there aren't any more ice spells at higher levels, so there's no real reason to keep moving up the sorcerer path. Also, I know that not every character is level 20. I just give options for every level. I don't know why people keep commenting that. I've explained it so many times. So, what should we do for the last 6 levels? When in doubt, fighter it out. Everyone can get something from a few fighter levels, like a fighting style. Superior technique gives you a d6 superiority die you can use on a maneuver, like rally, giving a creature your superiority die plus your charisma modifier and temporary HP. You take on more of a leadership role the longer you stay at the mansion. Second wind lets you recover 1d10 plus your fighter level as a bonus action on a short rest for a little frosty healing factor. Pretty much every member of the X-Men has some sort of healing factor. It's wild, but it also means the team doesn't really need a healer. Second level fighters get action surge, letting you make 2 actions in one turn, once per short rest. Use that to really spam the spells, especially when you mix in a quickened spell. Third level fighters get a martial archetype. Battle masters get 4 more superiority die and bump those up to d8s for 3 more maneuvers. Parry lets you reduce incoming damage by your superiority die plus your dexterity modifier to give a few more hits the cold shoulder. Evasive footwork lets you add your superiority die to your AC while you're moving. I'd imagine hitting a guy on an ice slide would be pretty difficult. Bait and switch lets you swap places with a creature you're standing within 5 feet of and add your superiority die to both of your AC until the start of your next turn, letting you defend another one of the X-Men while you defend yourself. Of course, you all know the real reason we're here, calligraphy proficiency from Student of War to turn you into an Omega level mutant. 4th level fighters get another ability score improvement. Keep getting your dexterity modifier up. I would like it capped off before we're done. 5th level fighters get an extra attack, letting you make 2 weapon attacks with your action instead of 1. We don't really need that. Just enjoy the bigger hit die, then use your action surge for more spells. Our capstone is the 6th level of fighter, letting you cap off your dexterity modifier for the thickest skin a draconic sorcerer can have. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you've got a ton of AoE spells to put the cold hit on everyone, especially with Elemental Adept to get rid of lower damage die. You're also great with area control, with spells to make difficult terrain and paralyze enemies. Finally, you're very mobile, sliding around with a flying speed to go wherever you want to go, whenever you want to go there. For weaknesses, what if something's immune to cold damage? It would be impossible for you to deal damage to them. Also, hot take, ice spells aren't that good. If you're picking an element to commit to, fire and lightning are both better, probably why they have their own dedicated sorcerer classes while ice casters only have draconic. Oh, and sorcerers don't even get all the ice spells. Wall of Ice is blocked behind Wizard, and Armor of Agathis is blocked behind Warlock, so unless we wanted to multi-class 2 casters that don't really make sense for who Iceman is, we wouldn't be able to do it. But this is still a cool build. Slide around, lock people down, and freeze everyone who wants to hurt the X-Men. Just watch out for someone who got better elements with their mutant power, otherwise you could be ending up on a funeral pyre. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon for this sheet and a whole bunch more, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.